Hi, this is Terry Bach, and I'm your host for Rewrite Your Money Story series. So welcome back. I have noticed that many entrepreneurs are really busy. They're working long hours, they're putting in a lot of time, and yet they're not having the financial results that they really want. And so I have put together this series of experts who are coming here, each with a different perspective on how we can help talk about this issue. So I am very excited today to talk with my colleague, Patty Farmer, who is here today because of her outstanding work with entrepreneurs. And she's an award-winning marketing and media strategist and an international speaker. She's done radio. She's just done it all, really. And she is here. She works with small business owners, and she helps people convert their ideal clients 24/7 so that they can make a bigger impact on the world and even bigger deposits in their bank accounts. So she has created a network for herself of over 100,000 connections while teaching entrepreneurs how to make more money while designing the lifestyle that they want. So welcome, Patty.
Thank you so much, Terry, for having me here. I'm excited to be here. I love this topic, right?
Good.
Rewriting your money story is so important.
I think so too. So I know that one of your expertise is building a list. And that's kind of what we're doing here, is teaching people how to do that as well. So why do you think having a list is so important? And does it really matter what the size of your list is?
That's a great question, Terry. So first of all, I'm going to do the second part first. It doesn't really matter the size.
Okay.
The size of your list really doesn't matter. It's about how engaged the list really is. I mean, I've helped clients with a list of 500 people make six figures. And then I've known people who had 50,000 people and they were really struggling with it. So really size doesn't matter. It's all about engagement.
Right.
But how important is your list? It is one of the most important things you can do for this number one reason. I always like to say, imagine if you think of all the people you're connected to on social media. So think of everyone like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Instagram. If all of those people, all of those connections were on your email list, how would that affect your bottom line? That would rewrite your money story really, really quickly.
It would.
It would. And I think that one of the things that people don't realize is the only thing you own, the only two pieces of real estate you have is your website and your email list. Everything else is owned by somebody else. Facebook owns Facebook. They closed it down. All those people you're connected to on Facebook, bye-bye.
Very true.
So really, that's what's really important. So having an email list is very, very important. Mm-hmm. Although having a social media list is too, but for today, we'll talk about an email list. And it is very, very important to have one. Yes. And it's very important to know how to engage. And it is even more important to know how to leverage it.
Yes. And so what are some key ways to leverage a list?
So my number one way and how I've literally built my business really is by doing joint ventures, really about collaboration. So I think that's really, really important. But it's really important to know how to do a joint venture correctly and also to create promotional partners. And a lot of times people will say, Patty, aren't those the same thing? But they're really not. So doing a joint venture with somebody is really when you're doing something together, right? That's why it's called a joint venture, right? And you're doing something together. And there's a lot of different ways that people can do that. But creating promotional partners, now that's something totally different. And I think this is where you need to have some strategy. So for example, so there is somebody who wrote a book on LinkedIn. She's really, really good at it. And what she did when she launched her book was she created momentum. So what she did is she went out to promotional partners who served the same audience as her, but in a different way, and said, would you be willing to help me promote the book? Now, how she got us to do it and why it was attractive to us is we were able to offer something for them as a bonus. So think of how many times you've probably seen a book launch, and if you bought that book today, right, you got this and this and this and this. So she didn't even have to create those things. right? All she
Wow.
did was have relationships with promotional partners, and we gave her those things because we knew that by doing that, that would help her get her book to #1, but also all of those people that she was connected to would see what we had to offer as well. So there's two ways to really be able to do it. So I think that we should always be striving to do both. That's the ultimate goal. Who can I joint venture with, and who's a good promotional partner for me? And working on both of those is really key.
And for the listeners who may not know what a joint partnership is, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
How that would be different.
So doing a joint venture is when you're doing something together. So for example, an event. So maybe you're going to do an event, and a lot of times, I'll give you a personal example, I'll do an event and I'll do it someplace I don't live. And so I will connect, or I'm already connected usually, to somebody who lives in that town. Like I'm going to be doing it in a few months in Chicago. So there's somebody there in Chicago, and she serves my audience too. So I connect with her. So rather than asking her to be a promotional partner and just promote it, I ask her to be involved in it as well. So she's going to speak at that event too, which will, of course, she will promote it to her people too. But not only that, but then she helps in the costs involved as well.
Right.
So the cost of putting on the event, I now get to share the expenses of everything that's involved in that too. But then we also split the money. So when you think about it, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yes.
And a lot of times, having 2 or 3 people doing something really can make a difference. So the question somebody should ask there is, what do I do and who supports them as well? So like for me, I'm a speaker. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times when I do things, I like to bring in people who do work with authors, because a lot of speakers are working on books and a lot of people who are authors should be speaking, right? So it's kind of goes hand in hand. So it's a joint venture for me.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I haven't really honed in on that. I use the term joint venture a lot, but I've never really heard of promotional partners. So that's interesting. Thank you. For somebody maybe listening, or myself, if we don't have a list or don't have a big list, what are some ways that somebody could start building one?
I love that question too, because I think a lot of times that's what they want to know. I don't have a list, but how do I get started, right?
Right.
So it can be something as simple in the beginning as utilizing your Facebook page. A lot of people don't know that on your Facebook page, there's a button there where right next to the like button where you can actually offer something. And it could be an ebook, it could be a subscription, it just could be something that's a freebie, like something that you're giving them, kind of like the taste me before you hire me, right?
Sure.
You give them a little something, something, so that they see the value that you bring to the marketplace before they're going to buy from you. Some people know you and it's a natural, but some people have never heard you before. So it's a good way to be able to do that. So that's one way. Another way is to do giveaways or challenges. A lot of people do those.
Okay.
It could be something in the beginning as having a newsletter. I mean, in the olden days, it's like, oh, subscribe to my newsletter. People don't do that so much anymore because people get so much email.
Right.
They always have one finger on their delete button, right? So I think it's really important. But I think that there's a big question. The question that we should be asking is, what am I doing to provide the value so they want to stay? Because one of the things that I think is really important, I like to talk about, is it's not just getting them on your list, but what are you going to do to nurture them so that they want to stay on your list?
That's a good point.
Yeah, and I call that a stick strategy. And one of the things that I like to do is, what are you going to offer them? So one of the things that I offer the people on my list is that they get exclusive content that nobody else does. Okay. And this is an opportunity for you to provide value and to show your integrity. So if you tell them that and you really do give that content away to somebody else, well, now you're lying, right?
Right, exactly.
So be really clear. But I make sure that if they're on my list, they get content before anybody else. They get exclusive content. They get discounts. They get to see it first. They get an opportunity to beta test things. So there's a reason people want to be on my list.
Sure.
I make sure I nurture those relationships, because sometimes people, and I'm sure some of your listeners have you ever opted into something to get that freebie, and then as soon as you did, you opted out, right? So they have the opportunity to do that. So it's really important to make sure that you nurture the people that are on your list. So there's a lot of ways, through landing pages, sales pages. signing up for this. I mean, this is great content that you're doing. You're giving great information. However, you know, when they do, they're going to be able to get an opportunity to know more about you and the other value that you serve in the marketplace as well. So I think that's really a great opportunity to do it and to have other people do it too.
Absolutely. Okay, good. So what are some, we've talked about how to build a list, but how do you actually go about monetizing a list once you have one?
Now there's $1 million question, isn't it, right?
I hope so.
That's always the big question we want to know is how do we make money? And that comes to leveraging, right? So I think that it's really, really important. So one of the things that I always like to say, and I've been quoted several times of saying it, is your list is your bank account. But if you build it with service and through relationships, it'll be your retirement account. So it's really, really important to really think about that, right? So
can you say that again? I want to write that down.
Sure.
I love that.
Your list is your bank account, but if built on service and relationships, it'll be your retirement account.
Okay. Wow.
So I like it, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's so true. So some of the ways that you can monetize it is the most obvious one that people talk about a lot is affiliate marketing.
Right. Okay.
I think it's really important though. A lot of times people like to jump on that bandwagon for affiliate marketing. Mm-hmm. I have to tell you, I think people should be very, very careful when they do it. Now, it is a great way to monetize your list for sure, but you want to be really careful who you are really affiliating for, right?
Because stop you for a second, because I think there might be people who don't know what affiliate marketing is.
Oh, good. I love that. Okay, so let's break that down. Yeah. So affiliate marketing is when you will promote something that somebody else is selling and you actually get a percentage of profit. You know, sometimes people say, oh, if you'll do this, you'll get 20% or something like that. And people really understand that and they know it. And so one of the things for me early on was that I personally made a decision to not do that.
Okay.
And the reason for me, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but the reason I chose not to do it is because I built my business on collaboration, joint ventures, and networking. And I didn't want anybody, when I would say, oh, you really ought to think about this program, or have you ever done this, for them to ever be able to ask me, are you getting a kickback on that? And for me to be able to say, oh, well, absolutely I am. So I chose not to. Now, with that said, I probably left a lot of money on the table for that. However, that's just how I built my business. Sure. I also think that when you're doing it, the question here is to be very careful when you do it. So one of the things I would say is don't do it unless you've actually used that service or that product, right? Because really, honestly, if you're going to put your name behind it, you want to make sure, because if somebody doesn't and they don't like it, or it isn't, you know, it doesn't work well, you're the one that's told them to do it. So that can really come back and bite you.
It can.
Two, make sure that the product that you're saying is something that makes sense to your list. I mean, if you hit your list with a whole bunch of things that doesn't have anything to do with the reason they signed up, what's going to happen is they're going to unsubscribe, and now you're not going to get to market to them.
Exactly.
So that could come and hurt you too. So it's really, really important when you do it. Now, with that said, is there something okay about if somebody does something and they do it really good and you think it will really, really help your list for you not to be able to make a few dollars by doing it? I mean, people do it like they talk about Amazon, or they talk about a lot of different, there's a lot of names out there that people can be resellers for and stuff, and they make a few dollars here or there. I don't think there's anything wrong with that as long as you disclose it. So as long as you actually say, if you click this link, this is an affiliate link, I will make whatever. And I think it's important to then say, but just so you know, I don't endorse anything that I have not used myself and found, you know, however you want to word that. I think that's really important to stay in integrity. So it is something you can do, but I just think that you should be careful doing it. And then the question is, how much money are you going to make? Like if somebody's selling something for $5,000 and you're getting 25% of it, okay, that's a chunk of change, right? But if somebody's just selling something for $100 and you're going to make 10% of it, you need to ask yourself the question, is it worth sending this to my list for that amount of money? So,
and I think the key there too, aside from what you just said, is that you want it to make sense to your list. So absolutely. I mean, you don't want to be, you know, being affiliate marketer for a lot of different things that have nothing to do with your target market.
And then I think one other thing that I'd like to say that I think is interesting is I don't know if anybody has heard of this, but there's a thing called a dead list. And you may be going, what's that? And what that is, if you are, a lot of times this is what happens to big marketers that do a lot of affiliate marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And what will happen is, and I don't actually really like this so much, but it does happen. But what will happen is they will be marketing to a part of their list, right? To their list, and they will market, and say after like a year, we'll just say for example, nobody on this particular list, or they pay attention, and all the people that haven't purchased from them in that year, they see that, oh, well, this is kind of a dead list. Nobody is buying from me. So what they do is they move them into another segmented list, and they say, oh, well, maybe if you're not buying from me, at least I can make money by sending you other people's things, right?
Yes.
So sometimes if somebody is sending you stuff and they're always sending you stuff from other people, you're probably on their list. And if you haven't purchased from them, what they've done is decide that, oh, you're not going to purchase from me, but I'm going to add you to this list, and now I'm going to sell you everybody else's stuff. You might want to think about unsubscribing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So aside from affiliate marketing, what are some other ways of monetizing?
I think another way, again, is to go back to joint ventures. There's ways that you could do things together.
Mm-hmm.
I think challenges right now are really important, and giveaways. A lot of things right now, when people are doing giveaways, they really give good value things. And one of the ways you may have, it's actually kind of the way you and I met too when we were in Italy,
right,
is that there'll be a giveaway where every person who signs up gets this free thing that's of value. But then you say one person's going to get this. So for example, a web designer might say every single person who opts in, so now they're building their list, right? Every person who opts in is going to get top 10 things you should have on your website. But one person is going to be put into a drawing, and they're going to win a whole new website. So you're only having to provide that to one person, but everybody that opts in is on your list. So that's a great way for you to be able to get a lot of people on your list quickly, and that they're interested in what you do because they opted in for that. So giveaways right now are really, really big. Doing some type of 5-day challenge for something is really a way to be able to do that. But a lot of times what happens is when you do that giveaway, when you send them something, you're able to get them on your like low entry level by offering them something very inexpensive. You may have seen where you have either gotten something for free or very inexpensive, and then you'll get that email that will say, while you're here right now, you can get this for $17, or you can get this. So it's very, very low end. However, now they've actually purchased from you, and now they are actually not just on your marketing list, but now they're on the list of somebody who has actually purchased from you. And now you're starting the journey together as, as somebody who's done business together. And I think that's really, really important.
Because if somebody's willing to pay $17 for something, they're more likely to pay more for something too down the road.
As long as you're providing relevant, consistent. I think that's really important. And one of the things I want to make sure that I do say here too is I think it's important when you have a list that you vet your list all the time. And what I mean by that is you scrub it and make sure, your business changes. Everybody's changes. We offer different services. We do different things. Twice a year, I send to my list an email that says something to the effect of, I want to honor you by making sure I always send you, relevant, consistent content. Please choose below what content you'd like to receive from me. And they'll have some radio buttons, and every one that they click on telling me that that's what they want to receive, it actually puts them in a list that says that's what they want to receive, and takes them out of the list that they don't want to. So now I'm only sending them what they told me they want to get.
That's a great idea.
And then they won't unsubscribe because I'm only sending them what they told me they wanted to receive. And I think that shows integrity and lets them know that you really, think of them as somebody that you really care about. You're nurturing them. You're building a relationship with them. And I think that's very important.
And you're respecting them too. You're respecting what they want.
I think that's important.
I do too. Great points, Patty. Thank you. So, anything else you want to add?
Well, I just think that it's really important right now to always make sure that you get permission, that you never add anybody to your list. I think a lot of times when people are out there and they exchange business cards, I think a lot of times people think that if they exchange business cards that it's implied consent. to be
Right.
added to their list, and it is not. It's actually against the CAN-SPAM law. So always make sure that you stand out from the crowd and ask permission.
Right.
That'll make you stand out in itself. So I think that is really, really important to be able to do, is to always ask permission. So I think that's really important. And to just make sure that you're always giving them consistent, relevant information, and always asking yourself, well, you know, how can I serve them? What would help them? What's the next step for them? And then build relationships, and then think about who are the people on your list and who could you do a joint venture with? Is there somebody out there you could collaborate with? How else can you serve them? And another question is, who do you know as you're expanding your network? Who do you know that could serve them too? Maybe you can bring them in doing an interview series like you're doing right now.
Right.
I mean, this rewrite your story that you're doing is very, very important. And other people that you know may be able to help them too. So I think it says a lot about you that you're bringing in other people to serve them.
Well,
so thank you.
And thank you. So I understand, Patty, that you have a free gift for our listeners. And would you tell us about it?
Sure. So I'm a magazine publisher, and the magazine that I publish is called, conveniently, Marketing, Media, and Money, right? So that's really important, right? Marketing, media, and money. And I'm really blessed to have some really great contributing authors who are very generous with their knowledge. And not just their knowledge, but we really want to make sure that we're giving you information that's what's happening now in business. Not what was working 5 years ago, but what's working right now. And so what I'd like to offer your listeners is a free subscription to the magazine. So I would really love you to be able to do that, really dive in. There's always things in there that you can take away for your business right now, and then connect you to some of the entrepreneurs that are making it happen right now.
Wow, that is so cool. I went in there and looked at the magazine, or looked at the cover and what was in the magazine. It looked really, really good.
Thank you so much.
So, thank you. Thank you for that lovely gift. And for the listeners, just so you know, underneath the video is a button. Download this link, and that's a good way to get Patty's free gift. Okay. Well, thank you again, Patty. I appreciate your time and all your expertise, all your knowledge here on list building and leveraging and monetizing the list and all that. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for asking me.
You're welcome. And for the listeners, thank you for being on my Rewrite Your Money Story series. And tune in tomorrow for another expert who will be also sharing her way of helping you work less and earn more money. Okay.